We've talked about the general issue of how genes and environment work together in the context of personality, and in the next two lecture segments, I'm going to describe the developmental cascade by which genes and environment work together to shape the trajectory of personality from infancy through adulthood. But first, I want to note how difficult it is to study the development of personality. Personality is, by definition, something very individual. So studying the development of personality requires tracking individual people over periods of many years. When the same individuals are studied over a long period, with data collected at multiple different time points, this is called a longitudinal study. A study that involves testing different samples of people at different ages is called a cross-sectional study. Cross-sectional studies are much easier to conduct than longitudinal studies. For example, if I'm doing a cross-sectional study, I can test a group of 1-year-olds, a group of 5-year-olds, and a group of 10-year-olds all at the same time. I might be able to finish the study in just a year or two. However, if I want to study these same ages longitudinally, the study will take at least 10 years, because I'll need to start when the participants are 1-year-olds, bring them back when they turn 5, and then bring back these same people again when they turn 10. And during that time, some of them might move away or lose interest in participating. However, longitudinal studies are the only way to see how personality develops over time. A lot of work has looked at how factors during infancy and early childhood are related to personality. Researchers tend not to use the term personality to describe infants and toddlers. Instead, they use a related but distinctly different term, temperament. Temperament refers to more basic aspects of the individual that can be assessed non-verbally, either by measuring physiological variables such as heart rate, by observing behaviors such as fussing or playing, or by asking parents or other caregivers to report their observations of the child's behavior. Here's a good definition of temperament. Temperament traits are early emerging basic dispositions in the domains of activity, affectivity, attention, and self-regulation. And these dispositions are the product of complex interactions among genetic, biological, and environmental factors across time. Here are some examples of items from a temperament questionnaire that's given to parents, teachers, or other caregivers to describe children between the ages of 3 and 7. Note that the caregivers are asked to rate the child on a set of specific behaviors, like being in a hurry or going down high slides, and the researchers use factor analysis to infer the underlying dimensions on the basis of which items correlate with each other. Whereas personality researchers have pretty much converged on 5 main dimensions of personality, the basic dimensions of temperament are still being worked out. Questionnaire-based assessments of temperament in young children often find statistical evidence for 3 main dimensions. 2 well-known researchers, Arnold Buss and Robert Plomin, have argued that these 3 dimensions are activity level, emotionality, and sociability. Activity level is just what it sounds like. It's how much the infant or child moves, runs, talks, etc. You've probably seen a lot of variability in this in your own observations of children. Some little kids run around like crazy, whereas others will just sit quietly in a stroller. And you might think that the parents are to blame if the kids are running around, but a lot of this reflects underlying biological factors that cause the kids to have a lot of energy. Of course, some parents are better than others at focusing their kids' energy and setting limits. Emotionality is the intensity of the child's emotional response to a situation. Kids who score low on emotionality will remain fairly calm if some other kid takes a toy away, whereas kids who score high in emotionality might cry or scream. Sociability is the extent that the child likes to be with and interact with other people. For example, when my daughter Allison was a baby, she always wanted to be around other people, and she never wanted to just play with toys by herself. On the other hand, my son Carter was perfectly happy to play with toys all by himself for 20 minutes or so. Other researchers, such as Mary Rothbart and her colleagues, have found evidence for a somewhat different set of 3 dimensions. One of their dimensions is called surgency/extroversion. This is like a combination of Buss and Plomin's activity level and sociability dimensions. Another dimension is negative affect, which is similar to Buss and Plomin's emotionality dimension. Rothbart's third dimension is effortful control. This is the extent to which a child is able to focus attention and inhibit inappropriate behaviors. Buss and Plomin ultimately supplemented their original 3 dimensions with a 4th dimension of impulsivity, which is basically the same thing as effortful control, but labeled with the opposite end of the scale. That is, somebody who's impulsive lacks the ability to focus attention and inhibit inappropriate behaviors. One common task that's used to assess inhibitory control in children is the marshmallow task, which you may have seen before. Technically, it's called a delay of gratification task. In this task, the child is given a marshmallow or some other treat. The child is told that if she can wait a few minutes and not eat the marshmallow, she'll actually get to eat 2 marshmallows and not just 1. Some children eat the 1 marshmallow right away. They just can't wait. Others eat it after a minute or 2. And some can wait as long as 7 minutes and might actually get to have 2 marshmallows. Older children can wait even longer. And as you can see in this video, children who manage to wait often exhibit clear signs that they're really struggling with themselves to avoid the temptation to eat the marshmallow. Many studies have used this task, and the study shown here found that how long a 4-year-old can wait is correlated with effortful control as measured by parent and teacher ratings on a questionnaire developed by Rothbard and her collaborators. Moreover, effortful control and delay of gratification in these 4-year-olds was predicted of the children's grades several years later when they were in 8th or 9th grade.